Welcome to Your City on Community 7 Television. I'm Veis and I'm your host. Each month we look at a different aspect of what's going on with the city of Billings. And this month we're very excited to have Councilmember Frank Ewalt with us. Councilmember Ewalt has been a member from Ward 2 for a number of years now. So Councilmember Ewalt, thank you so much for coming on with us.
You're welcome. I hope I could give you some of the things you want to hear.
So well, we just want to hear from you. This is a good way for us. Those of us that watch the city council meetings every Monday night, we get to see Councilmember Ewalt behind the podium today. We get to just have a conversation. So that's all we're looking to do.
All right. I didn't realize there was that many people bored to death at night.
That's true. It's either that or Monday Night Football. It's a tough choice, right? Give us a little bit of background. Did you grow up in the area? Did you come to the area? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born in northeast South Dakota. Worked on the farm, dairy farm, till I graduated from high school, and then even my college years, I'd go home for the summers. Once I graduated from college, I got into teaching. I taught industrial arts for 3 years and got married, and then went back to the farm for a little while, and then says it's time to move on, and we loaded up the rig and moved west, and this is where we settled, is in Billings, and that was back in 1978. Well, 77, December 77, and moved here in January 1, 78. So.
And what were you doing when you moved to town? What kind of brought you to town?
We were just I wanted to go west. I'd never been west, really, and so I figured, well, this is a good chance, so we came here, and I got a job at the Yellowstone Mill Works, which is up on top of the hill on Main Street. Mm-hmm. And I worked there for 6 months or so, and then the guy that owned it, I went to work for his dad doing carpenter work. And so I got into carpenter work, and it just evolved from there. So, yeah. And I've been in construction ever since then.
Sure, yeah. And then what kind of prompted your interest in serving on the city council? What was it that you said, you know what, this is how I want to spend my time, energy, and Monday nights?
I was a city fireman for almost 20 years. And so I was privy to what happens in the council a little bit.
Yeah.
And when the city or the council or the parks department, I don't know who you want to say or what, but when they decided they were going to spend $1.2 million on a splash park in South Park that would be used 3 months of the year, I'm going, somebody's got to step in here and tell them that $1.2 million is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so that's that along with the $1.8 million for the pool house out at Rose Park, that's $3 million, just boom. And I'm going like, wow. Money always came hard for me. I had to work for every bit of it, and so I watch it pretty close.
Sure. And how long have you been on the council now?
It'll be it's about 2.5. Let's see, 2.5 years now. December or January will be 3 full years. It's one year to go. So.
And what did you think that the job was, and what did you find out the job was? I mean, kind of what were your expectations going in, and then what did you learn that, like, well, I expected it to be this way, but it's really kind of different than what I thought it was going to be.
I thought that they only needed to meet like once a month. Once you get in there, you know, it's every Monday night, either it's a work session or an executive session, and it's like, holy cow, I didn't think there'd be, and the work just kind of piles up. I'm a slow reader. I try to digest everything I read, and so I read fairly slow, and I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of things that need to be read. Yeah. I mean, you'll click on a site and there's 80 pages, and I'm going like, really, I'm supposed to read this before Monday night along with all the rest of the stuff? So it's there's a whole lot of literature that you got to read if you wanted to do the job right. Right. You can just go in there and listen and do whatever, but you have to do some reading too, and that's a big part of it. It takes a lot of time.
Sure. What kind of surprised you the most about being on the council, besides maybe reading some more? What did you learn about the city that you didn't know before? I mean, I imagine you were pretty well knowledgeable about the city, having been a firefighter. But were there some things you learned about the city? You're like, man, I didn't even know that was going on.
Well, I don't know about you, but my bank account's never had $100,000 in it that I know of, and all of a sudden I'm going from that to figuring a budget for $380 million. Just mind-boggling. The first year I was just swimming. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And the enterprise funds make up the greatest portion of that, and they're treated totally separately from the general fund. I would like to see them budgeted separately and do like one enterprise fund at a time.
Yeah.
Because that way you could devote more work to each one of them.
Sure.
And but yeah, that's just the vast amount of money that we're working with, and saying, I don't know, I guess if you just dropped all the zeros off, maybe it'd seem easier, but it just doesn't work that way.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Talk to us a little bit about the budget process. What does that look like for the city? I imagine you guys got that wrapped up not too terribly long ago. But walk us through the months it takes to get to a point where you guys can then vote on a budget.
Well, they used to have the CIP, capital improvement projects, blended in with the budget. And this year we did that like in December, I think, for the following year.
Sure.
So that kind of separated a big chunk out of there in what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so budgets, we start talking budget kind of seriously about April, and it's April, May, and all the way to the end of June. And like I said, it's just all blended together, $380 million, and it's hard to weed through all that stuff and go like, wow.
Do you kind of have different departments come in over time and go through their budgets, and how does that process work?
Yeah, everybody comes in and presents their stuff, but you know, when they go like, well, this is 10 million here and 20 million here. I mean, it's mind-boggling the size of the numbers and to get your head wrapped around them, and then a lot of the different areas are governed by state statutes, like the water department and the water reclamation department. Charges for them have to follow state statute. We can't overcharge. If we do, then we got to go back and charge less the next year. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff wrapped up into it that a guy wouldn't think about.
And then during the course of the budget process this year, I'm sure, there was COVID stuff going on. Did you guys talk about how that was going to impact your budget and where you might have to be spending more money or bringing less money in? Or what kind of conversations did you guys have wrapped around the budget this year with that particular aspect on it?
That is really a hard notion to grasp there, that COVID, because yes, like the fire department, they go on the calls and stuff.
Yep.
It costs them more for PPE, personal protective equipment, and things like that. Same with police officers, because they work with these people. And so when you look at that, there's more costs there. As far as the city, it's just hard to say where you can figure the more costs in, but it's what it boils down to is the city doesn't have much to do with the regulations on COVID.
Yep.
First is state, and then it's county. And so I think the city's main interest in it is just protecting their employees and keeping the business going and being creative in how you do it. Like the building department, they had a place where the contractors could drop off plans, and then they'd go down and pick them up, and then they'd take them back there when it was time to pick them up. And so it's going to change a few things. You're going to see a lot less face-to-face in the future, and more technology.
And did the council end up kind of meeting virtually as well during that time?
We still are.
Okay.
We started out. I think we did two sessions spread out in the council chambers, and well, those council chambers are pretty tight. when the council people are sitting there, it's like if you go with your elbows like this,
Yeah.
you bump the person next to you. So,
Yeah.
so they went to the virtual, and it's okay, but it's not like doing a meeting in person. I mean, you read mannerisms. You know, there's all kinds of things you pick up when you meet in person that
Sure.
you can't pick up when you're
Yeah.
online. So, I mean, we're functioning, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of functioning under the circumstances. But it just isn't the same. I'm ready to go back anytime, and I think they're trying to get the community center at the library set up
Oh,
for community or Channel 7.
they are. We're working on it.
And if we can get there, then we got more room to spread out.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the better place to have the council meetings in the future anyway, just because of the more room. If
Yeah.
there's been times when the council chambers get awful darn full, and you got people standing out in the back and everything. So we have a lot more room for people to come in and sit down. And the other thought is they've been thinking about the meeting room at the First Interstate building on 6th.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sure. Yeah.
one of the two, I think that one's already set up for Community 7, but I'm not sure.
I'm not
how
sure
good
either.
it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been on the council for, at least a couple of years now, a little bit more than that. How did did you notice how the council changed then when new members came on the council, and how did that dynamic shift? And were you able to notice those differences in the council when the new members came on board?
it shifted to a degree, not really strong, but when you got 6-5 votes, and when I came on their year, some of the older people are going, this just isn't right having 6-5 votes, and I'm going like, they think it should be 10 or 11-0 all the time. Well, that's not the way life goes,
Right.
and so I think the 6-5 has kind of shifted 6-5 the other way some. So yeah, it's a different communication. The problem with the council is it takes a lot of time. So if you're in the working age group where you're not semi-retired or retired,
Yeah.
it's tough to work a job and be on city council because if you're going to do the job right, it takes a lot of extra time.
Yeah.
So you either have to be just home if you're married, your other partner works and you don't, or you have to be retired or semi-retired or something, or just financially independent where you don't have to work for a living. So
Yeah.
it makes it tough to have a job and stay on the council and work full time.
Sure. Do you find that kind of that over time that you find out the personalities of the new folks on there? And I always found that, well, I know Frank and I aren't going to agree on this thing, but I guarantee you we're going to agree on this thing. So, hey, yeah, we're going to vote against each other over here, but I know we're going to vote here, so I'm going to work with Frank on this particular thing. Do you find those kind of personality traits within the council? And here's where we can work together, and I know here's where we're not going to be able to work together.
I think there's a real obvious separation. I mean, you can probably sit at home, watch on TV, and visualize that. But every once in a while, you just get totally surprised, and you just go like, "Wow, I can't believe it went that way." So there's always surprises in life. So
Yeah. What is your least favorite part of serving on the council?
I think I already talked about that, the reading part.
Sure,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
I mean, you get stuff that thick, and you got, and just like the budget book. I mean, that comes out, and that budget book is this thick, and you're supposed to digest all that stuff, and the CPI is that thick, and then the other thing is when all the departments do their studies, you get a book like that thick, and you're supposed to be able to digest all that and read it and be ready. And like right now, we're sitting, and I don't know what's going to happen for sure yet, but for the last 3 years now almost, I think they've been working on the recode.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can you imagine how thick a book that's going to be? And they've been threatening to keep bringing it to us, but they're changing some of the stuff even now. And so, I mean, that's going to be a long, drawn-out process, that recode. It's some stuff is probably good, but there's a lot of stuff in there that just like,
Yeah.
trying to eat an elephant.
Yep. What's your favorite part of serving on the council?
I get to represent the people that elected me. I bring a different point of view than a lot of people do there, and I hope I'm doing a good job of representing them. You're on the leading edge of stuff. You find out what's going on, but I don't think I'll miss it when I leave. But it's interesting. Mm-hmm. And the funny part is, when I was teaching back in South Dakota, I was teaching in a little town. Probably like Huntley, Warden.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was on the city council there. It was kind of a strange deal, but I think there was 3 people on the city council there.
Sure.
And the issue there was they were trying to get a sewer system put into the town, and there was federal money to pay for it, but people didn't want to do it, even though the federal government was going to pay for it. And so I and another younger gentleman, we ran, and they got a sewer system there now in that town. So.
Good deal. Let's talk about one of the big issues that's out there for the city council right now, and that's the public safety mill levy that's out there. Tell us what it is, what it does, and what it'll be used for if the levy passes.
I got to ask you first, what year were you on the council?
I was on from 2005 to 2010.
Okay, so you came on the year after they passed the last public safety mill levy. Okay, at that time, there was a state statute that says you couldn't assess public safety as mills. You had to have an amount.
Lump sum.
Lump sum, yep. And so that became 8.2 million. Although it wasn't all assessed the first year, it kind of incremented in.
Yeah.
So but to get that amount, they needed 60 mills back then. Well, over the time, as the city grows and as tax valuation goes up, to get that 8.2 million, the assessment to each property goes down. And so the value of that 8.2 million shrinks, or the value of that public safety mill levy. It'd be kind of like putting your money in a money market right now, where you might get like 0.5% or something. You're not keeping up with inflation, and that's what happened. And so the other guy up in the Heights, Councilman Neese, he's a financial wizard, and he got to study, and he said, we had to bring this one back and see if we can't get it re-upped at the 60 mills it was originally set up for.
Sure.
And that was kind of like a fallback, because once we were working on a bigger ask, and then COVID hit, and then it was like, well, we can't even make an ask now, and we just can't do that. We still got to try and make an ask, and so that's the ask we're making, is to bring that public safety back and take it to the original mills that it started out at, as the 60 mills, and that'll bring in $4.2 million. And because of the fact that it's going to grow as the city grows and as tax valuation grows, that could probably buy us a couple of years or so.
Sure. So tell us, lay it out. I mean, we talk about public safety, but what does the public safety mill levy fund? What services does it fund for the city?
Well, this one here is for police and fire.
Okay.
But the public safety for the city is a real, it's intertwined just like this. So you hire more police. What do police do? They write citations. If you get a citation, where do you go? You don't go to the bank with it, you go to the court.
Yeah.
So The courts, we have one city judge and a part-time city judge and one judge chambers. So, I mean, and the amount of cases is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we just agreed in our budget this year to hire one more prosecutor because of the numbers are so great. It's just like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair to the people that they're representing. So this mill levy will be only for police and fire to maintain what they have. But public safety is courts, attorneys, prosecutors, and then space. And right now, that's the big problem with the courts is we don't have any space. In the city hall, we've got like a 12 by 12 room with 3 prosecutors sharing that room.
Sure.
Can you just imagine how tight? In fact, they just remodeled the vault.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on the 3rd floor in City Hall.
Yeah.
It's a vault. They got to keep the door open so the guy doesn't get locked in there. and that's his office. So that's how bad it is. We really need some more room. We're kind of working on that. I don't know what's going to happen, but we've put out an RFP on it, and the place we're looking fairly strongly, but we haven't decided yet to take it to the public, and that's the Stillwater building, the old federal building.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great because it's right downtown, right where we are now.
Yeah.
So the location is perfect, but it's just COVID hit, and it just kind of like dropped the ball and hit with a thud on the ground, and nothing's really been done since. So.
Let's switch a little bit and talk about fire department. Are there I mean, the city continues to grow and grow and grow, and we talked about that on the police side of things. On the fire side of things, are you guys looking at new fire stations, hiring more firefighters? Kind of give us where we're at, city council wise, with the fire department.
Well, right now we're just trying to stay status quo. The West End has grown phenomenally. The city is spread way far. It's out there by Elder Grove School now, or not Elder Grove. Is that the one?
Yeah, Elder Grove is the one that's out that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's spread big time, and then you got the Heights, and the Heights is 30-some thousand people. That's 1/3 of the city, and we got one fire station out there.
Yeah.
So, it's a little tough, but you just can't. I mean, it costs a lot of money. If you put a fire station in, it's not only the firemen, but they're saying that they need more people to manage the firemen. So, I mean, it's like a whole new station number 1 with a chief and BCs and everything. So it's a pretty costly venture.
Sure.
And I'd like to think that the fire department does a good job of whatever they do, but I think they might be spreading themselves a little thin, because the one reason that you got a fire department is for fires.
Yeah.
And that should be the number 1 reason that they're there. And so it's that's why we take the big. Everybody says, why do they take the big trucks on all the first aid calls? Well, if you're on a first aid call and a structure fire happens 1 block away, you can remove yourself from the first aid call if the ambulance is there, and you can go to that structure fire. If you're running a little brush rig, you don't have the equipment to fight a structure fire.
Yeah.
So that you got to look at it this way: that fire engine is the fireman's office. Everything they need to work is in that fire engine, and wherever they go, their office goes with them. So we're one of the reasons that we came up with this re-looking at the old public safety mill levy vote is to buy time to pursue other avenues for revenue. I mean, you can lay in bed at night and dream up different ways to make revenue. You just got to figure out how to make them work. And so that's one of the major things is try and take some of the stress and give some of the property owners a little bit of relief by sharing the cost. And one of the big things is like a system development fee like water and sewer has. If you build out in the county, or if you build in past a certain limit, or if you build new in the city,
Yeah.
you have to pay a system development fee. Now that can only be used for stations and the first engine in there. After that, then all the people and all the equipment after that, it doesn't pay for any personnel. It's just the structure and the first time equipment in that station. But that's a big ask that's getting taken care of if we can do it that way. So
Yeah. So are the ballots out for the public safety mill levy? If so, when do people need to have them back in?
well, you'll know when it comes. I think it's this weekend they're supposed to show up.
Okay.
And I can't remember if they have to be postmarked by the 14th of September or the 15th of September, but it'll tell them on the ballot.
Okay.
And so I hope that everybody thinks about it as the fact that we're trying to keep up with inflation on that. And
Yeah.
so we got to try and make things work. I mean, it isn't any different than your checkbook at home. If you don't have something in the black there, it's a bad deal. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What else is kind of coming up on the council agenda? What are the big things that are out there that you guys are going to be discussing over the next 3 to 6 months that are big things out there for the city of Billings?
Well, the biggest and the neatest thing that I think that the city of Billings is doing, and that is they're coming up with, they got that West End Reservoir and water plant. Now that's just going to be the best thing, because there's almost 400 surface acres of water going to be. Think of the recreational possibilities it's going to be. You can't take a motorboat out there, but you can take a trolling motor, and they're going to stock it with fish, and it's supposed to be 30 feet deep. And then those are just all the side benefits, but that's what we need here. I mean, think of the recreation, and then, but the best part is, the water plant out there will now be able to gravity flow everything this way.
Yeah.
Right now, the water plant sits at the lowest point in the city, and they spend over $1 million a year in electricity pumping water. So that's going to make a big difference and then we got redundancy. Right now, we don't have any redundancy on our water, just very little. There's few small redundant places, but now we'll have 2 water plants. And did you know that water plant was owned by the Egan family, and it's over 100 years old?
I did not know that, actually.
And the water was never even treated when the Egan family was running it. They were just taking water right out of the river, and that's...
Yeah.
And so, the way I understand it, when the treating time came, then they sold it to the city. But
Sure.
that's how old the place is.
Yeah. Yep. It's kind of a cool old building when you go out there, too.
Oh, yeah. And you can do the old dust test, and there's no dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it. I mean, that is impeccably clean. They do an awesome job. Good employees out there. It's a nice place to be. And from my understanding, is this new one is supposed to be almost all computerized, so they don't have to have a bunch of people out there working it.
That'd be good. Councilmember Ewalt, thank you so much for coming down and talking to us and walking us through what's going on with the City Council. And thank you so much for all you do being on the council. I know it's a lot of hard work. I know it's a lot of late nights. We all appreciate the time, effort, and energy you put into being on the council. So thank you.
Well, thank you for appreciating that. It is interesting.
Yeah.
And kind of fun in a way, but like you say, there's some really late nights. So the worst part of the whole job is going into executive sessions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is really bad. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.